we should. Hello.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome
Take it
to.
away, brother.
Okay, bless, bro. Welcome to the first FiatRexa YouTube live stream. If there are any errors in here, I formally apologize. I'm doing the best to my ability and knowledge at the moment. This is the first time doing this. Uh, Me and Nee here are contributors of the FiatRexa protocol, and we are going to talk to you today about the FiatRexa tokenomics. Nee, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, for sure. Welcome everybody. And this is going to be a fun and descriptive podcast episode, basically where we're going to go through the beauty of why getting started with the FiatRexa protocol right now in the very beginning stages is going to be extremely beneficial for you. What we have built here is an extremely robust program that is literally made for our contributors. So we're excited to share this with you guys. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get right into it.
Alrighty. So, in quick summary, if you don't already know what FiatRexa is, it is a protocol layer to provide decentralized functionalities for tokenizing fiat, which is achieved by having essentially the philosophy of multiple mining nodes applied to multiple traditional finance entities that are some of the most secure and old formats of entity structures that we have in existence. These are the same things that like all the big institutions that we have in society rely on. There's nothing in the crypto space that currently does this effectively. So we are filling that gap specifically because the problem of moving from fiat to token and token to fiat sucks. We have stable coins, but those are controlled by centralized entities for the actual real asset backed ones, like Tether and Circle. And then for the non-centralized ones, they're algorithmically balanced, so they don't actually have the ability to move from a fiat to token state seamlessly. You're essentially relying on sophisticated, sometimes very intelligent things, like what DAI is doing, and sometimes things that are not so sophisticated or intelligent, like what Luna was. So we are fairly different from those solutions because of the fact that we do actually have real world asset backings in our treasuries so that everything is actually fully backed. And we also have the benefit of, because there's a protocol layer here, a common good protocol, that all these entities have mandates towards, we take advantage of the traditional finance structures to better provide a fiat experience where you don't need to deal with counterparty risk like you do with Tether or Circle or with banks or traditional finance institutions, which are a headache for good actors throughout all of our institutions, our governments, etc., as well as the general public. So, like, we as the general public get the most screwed out of the current layout and setup, and it's silly that we have not solved this problem yet, so decided to just do it because after more than a decade in the space, no one has solved it yet. So I've decided I'm going to just bite the bullet and do it. So that's what we've done. Today we're specifically talking about not any of our technologies or all of our functions necessarily. We're just trying to give an overview of the tokenomics. So kind of like what the math is and how and why different incentives align. So we'll get into it. So the TTS is the total token supply, 100 million FiatRexa. That's our utility token. Our utility token can be used to mint the contributor FiatRexa token. So that is a 10x multiplier at maximum because you get a multiplier applied to your FiatRexa for your C FiatRexa outcome. This is assuming a maximum 10-year lockup, in which case you get a 10x multiplier applied for minting of your contributor FiatRexa if you choose to become a contributor. What do we mean when we say contributors? So in our case, contributors are what fill in the gap of employees and contractors and all those other kinds of things. Instead of you actually having to go and get a job or having to go and get like a T4 or doing all this other stuff, instead what is happening is you are becoming a contributor and you can apply and do whatever tasks you want for the protocol. So it's a more free-flowing, free market type of situation. So if you have any types of skills, or even if you're just interested in developing skills, you can become a contributor on FiatRexa and actually get paid on a protocol-based level via smart contracts. So before getting into the contributor stuff, though, we can probably do that in another video. And Nee's already done a whole bunch of really great videos on the contributor functionality. Let's just go into the raw maths. So we're currently in this stage, the word of mouth open pre-sale. So we've got like a few $1,000s of the utility token sold, and we've got, I think, like a dozen or 2 dozen contributors so far. It's grew a lot since I last saw it, so I'm actually not too sure. But the token price for the utility token is 50 cents, and then you can convert your utility token into the contributor token. The utility token's functionality, by the way, it's in the white paper and whatnot, but the intent here is to break down this stuff so you don't actually have to read through it. You have a video which you can just watch while you're doing other things. That should make things a little bit easier. So the utility token is a 50% discount on all protocol fees, or the only access route for the contributor tokens. That's it. That's all the utility token does. 50 cents at the moment. At the next phase, which will hopefully be when we have like 1,000 contributors or something like that, because right now to become a contributor is about $25 if you go with the 10-year lockup. So if you buy $25 worth of the utility token, lock it up for 10 years, you get 500 C FiatRexa. That grants you access to the contributor functionalities. Of course, that goes up. And also, you don't have to do a 10-year lockup. You could just do like a 1-year lockup to get your contributor tokens. So you're converting your utility token into a contributor token. At the end of that lockup, you can choose to unlock, or you can just chill, and you're now unlocked, but you still have your contributor tokens until you redeem them for your FiatRexa, which would be like, you don't want to be a contributor anymore. You don't want to do these things. You don't want the contributor benefits. Yeah, well, once we hit the final phase, it's $1.50 to sell the last chunk of our tokens. And then we already actually technically gone through our token generation event, so we have it already, but this is how much is in the pre-sale. So 40%. The dedicated to LP over 5 years is just essentially managing from our pre-sale. We're taking a large portion of the pre-sale funds and balancing them with the baseline of FiatRexa to get our initial DEX defined token price, which should be just over $2, which I think we should see over here. FiatRexa year one. Oh no, this is the line right here. $2.12. Oh, this is at maximum. Okay, yeah. So we end up listing at $2, and then we have other applications, so we can utilize the rest of the LP reserved liquidity, which is 10% of the total supplies, for doing things like presenting liquidity onto centralized exchanges and making the utility token more accessible, which then makes the entire protocol and all of its utilities more accessible. The total distribution is here. So we have community incentives. We've frozen this for the time being, just because there's not that many contributors, and essentially it was causing us to get too many tokens, which is not fair. It creates a concentration risk, which we don't want in the protocol, so we paused that. We're going to re-enable this, I think, when we have 1,000 contributors, and then it just pays out 12,500 tokens to the current contributors per day from that percent of the supply. Then we have the development. So this has already had some of the vesting and release schedule work out in 2024. So that's all smart contract defined. It's all locked up and just kind of bleeds out to pay out contributors for stuff. So that could be you if you join and you become a contributor. Community bounties. So this we haven't done anything with yet. This is another reserved allocation inside the treasury where we essentially put out bounties to do things. And then as a DAO, as a group, we are like, hey, we'd really like if someone did a mobile app, let's say, and we think that's worth this. So people put forward proposals. We choose which ones we like the best via voting on them, and then that's it. At the beginning, it's going to be pretty rough and messy just while we're getting up on our feet, and probably just have like the Discord chat for anything for the bounties. But mostly at this stage, we're just going to be using these gradually released vesting tokens into the Treasury multi-sig wallet for the protocol. Then we have locked indefinitely for yield for advisors. So this is just sitting right now. The intent with this is it will be staked after the community incentive is completed, when we are spinning up more of the centralized entities. And we are expanding more. So like probably when we have market cap of like 100 million or so, we'll probably start implementing these. Maybe when we have $200 million market cap, live trading and whatnot. Because I guess technically because we have 100 million tokens and we're launching at $2, we would actually have a $200 million market cap at the end of the token sale. So that's when we probably want to lock these up, because then we also have all the protocol fees generating benefits for the contributor token holders. This is the reserve 10% that I was talking about over here, for getting stuff on centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges all over the place, just so it's accessible to everybody. The breakdown, so you can see this is the big released schedule right here, which is what you are able to participate in, and then you can also participate in this one, and you can participate in this one, and you can participate in this one, and you can participate in this one, and then no one gets to participate in these two, because they're just, this is like for dexes and sexes, and this is for advisors, just so they can get essentially their funds, because 90% of all fees are distributed to contributors. There are some very smart old heads who just won't get the technology of crypto, and they're going to need a simple way to access benefits from the protocol for providing value to the protocol. Hence that region.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's extremely powerful. So it's like right there, as you guys could see, like basically from that chart, you could see like only 15% of the fees that or tokens that come out of FiatRexa are not going to be available to contributors. Like anybody who participates in the protocol and provides value and is able to aid in the growth of the protocol gets rewarded handsomely. And we have many structures that are put in place to ensure that once the protocol is up and running, it becomes a completely autonomous and self-sustainable system.
Mm-hmm. And like we've said no to large amounts of money that could have pushed us forward a lot more in order to maintain a truly decentralized thesis that accounts for hopefully everything that we're aware of so far, at least. And if we have maybe missed something, let us know in the comments. And if it has not been addressed, because a lot of things are actually sub-addressed within these things, then we can know and we can fix it before things move along too far. So then, understanding a little bit more about this protocol beyond the basic structure and distribution. So we're targeting these yields per token per year. Here's two different ways of looking at it. This sheet is also going to be freely available as a link in the description of this video. But this is a conservative estimate on the yields for the protocol, based on a very, very small level of market penetration, and only accounting for, I think, 3 of the revenue channels out of the 8 that are going to be present for the protocol fees that are generated. And this is going back to like original idea of what stocks and equities were supposed to be, where you didn't have like these 140 EPS kind of situations, where things are hyper overvalued and completely detached from cash flow benefit. Here, because you work once and you earn forever as a contributor, your tokens should be earning around $50 a year, assuming everybody gets all the tokens and stakes forever. But that's not possible because some of the tokens aren't available for staking forever. But it's a good benchmark to have in mind just for modeling purposes and framing purposes. This is probably more likely, where about half the tokens will be staked by contributors to get the yield, the 90% of all protocol fee yield. This is for the treasury management. So we actually end up setting a protocol budget of $285,000 a year, because that's just pure protocol fee revenues from our initial pre-sale, in order to set up all of our LP and make the token available to everybody. These are the use of funds. So we have like quite a bit of capital to work with from the interest yield, and by keeping it compressed. And these are also low estimations and figures, so it's just based on general yields that we see all over the place. We should actually be seeing much higher yields than this, for many different reasons. To those of you who are deep in the crypto space, you can obviously tell why these yields are highly conservative. To those of you who are not, very simply, these yields are a function of utilities and volumes. So for things like this final treasury fund, that's going to be in our tokenized fiats, which are going to have a higher level of velocity of capital because there's just not that many of them. Like these other stablecoins with billions in market cap, tens, hundreds of billions of market cap, are seeing yields over 20 and 30, 40%, sometimes over 300%. So saying that we're going to get 5% is very, very, very conservative. Additionally, we're also looking at a situation where we're going to be getting money on the actual utility of the utility token itself. So there's other benefits that will accrue. It's just not at the same kind of rate because it's a fraction of the total from providing liquidity LP. So yeah, they've got all the ideas of what we think the use of funds are going to necessarily be used for by the treasury, which is the 10% of the remainder of protocol fees. But the DAO can also, we're going to add more things to these, I think. I don't think this will be everything necessarily. Doing like cash bounties in addition to utility token bounties, I think will be very strategically important so we can maintain our utility tokens for those who are more long-term thinking and looking to build something that's extremely valuable and important for the world. But let's dive into the revenues. Like, how and why do these figures come out, right? So currently, a good benchmark for this is looking at the FX market. This figure is very low because we're looking at the lowest figure in the last few years. It's actually at $2.8 quadrillion today, not 1.9. It was 2.4 quadrillion in 2019. This figure is the 2022 figure, so it's when we were having market issues globally due to geopolitical stuff and COVID stuff, mostly geopolitical stuff. Then we have the top 7 pairs. So there's 8 currencies altogether because everything, as you may notice, is paired with the US dollar. So we haven't isolated the US dollar. We need to isolate the US dollar as the extra currency because 7 different currencies pair with the US dollar to create 7 currency pairs. These are their daily averages for 2022. These are a little bit different now, but this is just a benchmark and give a rough framework and reference from a worst case perspective. And then we're targeting a 1% market share, but of course, if our fees are lower than anybody else in the market, and you can also get a 50% discount by using our utility token on protocol fees, while removing the risk factors that are currently present in all competitors. So you have lower risk and lower cost, and you can further cut that cost in half by 50%. I think it's reasonable that we may see a greater market share than 1%, but it's not productive to talk about that necessarily because this yield is already really large and massive. So timesing it by 100 is probably just going to make it sound ludicrous. We have our functionality here for our trading fee. So we're doing a 10%, or I think it's 10 basis point trading fee for the LP. And then you can see like this is to the LP, so to the people, and then this is to the protocol, and then this is to the people again for the on-chain referral fees. Because we run, since this is a contributor-based system where there's no employees, how do you deal with salespeople and HR people? Well, they usually get commissions. Their commissions usually range between like 2 or 3%, depending on what industry, up to 30%. And what we've just done is we're doing a flat 10% for the direct and 5% for the indirect, because the sales manager or the HR manager who is managing a team of people who are going and getting these commissions gets a percentage of those commissions. We're just doing 2-tier to account for all of this so that everybody is compensated accordingly, and all functions that currently occur in traditional entities can continue to occur through here, but on-chain, trustless, without counterparty risk. So then these are our annual swapping fees, but assuming that there's the 50% discount applied. Of course, that's not realistic. Like, many people are not going to be using the utility token to get a discount on protocol's fees. They will likely just pay the fees when they need to, rather than holding onto utility tokens. But if we can see people hold on to utility tokens like they did with the Binance token, where they were getting a large discount on fees by using that token, we could see a similar scenario where the price goes up a lot because there's a need for people to hold the token because of the utility of the token. And then that comes from the 8 primary products or protocol units that we have. Then we also have the yield from just us having the tokenized fiat. So just because the tokenized fiat exists, it creates cash flow. And then here's the breakdown of that cash flow. So we've put very low conservative estimates based on what is in the market today and basic demands and needs of the different regions based on their population, international trade, things like this. We have kind of elevated yields here in some circumstances just because we're coming out of a high interest environment. These will be going down, but we should be able to keep them up because we can utilize these to perform better functions with that money instead of just buying government debt, which is currently what this is all based on. We can actually do infrastructure projects in different countries. So like we're in Canada, our infrastructure is lacking in a few key areas, but have very large rewards when actually implemented. It's just that the sum of money necessary to implement critical infrastructure is problematic, and you have to have good actors in government in order to implement such long-term, high-value projects that benefit the population of that country by setting up like a hydroelectric dam or building a bridge or what other utilities are necessary to the population. But they generate much higher yields than these while having much lower costs. So we would probably address that as a DAO later on, but this is just to give a rough conservative framework or estimation. So from here, we get some distributed to the regional trust for trustees, admin, legal, accounting, regional infrastructure, so on and so forth. And then we have some to the DAO treasury, and then we have some for emergencies and insurance. So by having a multitude of centralized entities that all plug in and have mandates to the protocol, we achieve a decentralized function the same as mining does, or validators do. And what we have in addition to that is then an insurance fund. So we set up additional entities which are pretty much just chilling with some accruing capital so that if and when something goes wrong, there is no effect for users whatsoever. Yes, it mitigates our performance benefits or our flow through benefits for the contributors. However, it guarantees that users, or should guarantee, hopefully, that users never ever lose money. And the insurance fund mechanism is very, very productive and efficiently used by other centralized exchanges like Binance and such today. And I think we should learn from them because they are super smart and super effective and have never lost client money ever because they run an insurance fund. So we're going to do the same thing. Then we have what I'm calling like a terminal network, kind of like an ATM network, except it's not because there's no teller. So it's not even an automated teller because it's not a bank. It is functionally very, very different because there's no counterparty, but essentially
it's just an interface.
it's an interface. Yeah, this is just a physical interface. Instead of having storefronts or ATMs, you have these terminal interfaces, whatever the heck we're going to call them. Don't know yet. Join the DAO. Help me figure out what the heck to call these things and how to do these. Also, apply to be one of the regional managers for these. It's kind of like being a vending machine operator. So you would be getting this regional portion of fees, which is half, and then the protocol gets the other half. So that's for all contributors. But the actual operator of those terminals, those vending machines, will be collecting the lion's share of it. So we've got low expectations here for what this is. Part of this is also we are undercutting the market again very, very aggressively to have the lowest fees in the market. But the intent here is kind of like a loss leader thesis from business, whereby simply having these terminals set up, people will be like, oh, there's a FiatRexa terminal. What is FiatRexa? And that can get them to look into it a little bit further. So that kind of goes over this. This is the sum of all revenues currently. It's just the ATM function or the terminal function, the tokenized fiat function, so the existence of a tokenized fiat, and then the FX volume function. So this is where the bulk of the revenues really come from, and it's just because currently centralized players and bad actors currently control this market very aggressively. Good actors are also in the market, but usually not benefiting from it as much, even though they do have tremendous volumes through it because they, feed us. They give us our food and our shelter and all the things we need to survive. They have to source stuff from abroad and they have to move from their local currency to the currency that is necessary in order to pay their supplier or their vendor, and vice versa. Like maybe they have an employee they have to pay in a different currency or things like this. So the ability to move between different fiat states smoothly and efficiently is going to radically improve supply chain efficiency, because it also unlocks a lot of the dream functions that we've had in the crypto space for a long time, whereby right now things sit stuck at docks and storage lockers or in pipelines while we wait for money to move between points through traditional banking processes, which is not very efficient and is rife with fraud. So we can eliminate all that fraud by moving everything into smart contracts. So as soon as a deal is signed, the smart contract is signed, and the product starts to move, and the ownership of that product can move, as long as you tokenize this product, of course, from person to person, and the funds can move from person to person. So the supply chain is now smooth and automated with no counterparty risk, or with mitigated counterparty risk in that particular case, because you still have the person who you're relying on actually of tokenizing an actual thing. But as we move forward into the future, where we have better machinery and such, this will get better and better. But the tokenized fiat side of it is now removed from counterparty risk. So this is making things a lot safer. We're taking 50% of the risk off the table right away. Yeah, so that's that. This doesn't really have anything in it at the moment. It's pretty basic. That's just the first time contributor bounty that we're looking at deploying. Referral systems, which I think I just touched on. So you can get commissions. So this is how we're expecting to pay out this level of referral fees annually. And then in our first subsection, we're actually looking at paying out $5.6 million in referral fees for our initial contributors who are referring people to the protocol. And then, yeah, this is the multiplier effect for moving your utility token into a contributor token. Because the more forward-looking you are, the more invested in the long term you are, the better the incentive. This has an override, but no, this math actually isn't entirely correct. So we'll get one of our contributors to fix that, because I thought that was actually updated, unless I'm looking at the wrong sheet, which is also entirely likely. But everything else here is actually accurate. So one incorrect data point is not too bad. Yeah, I think that's it. Did that make sense? Was I talking too fast? Was it okay?
No, that was pretty straightforward. It's like all of it is the different parts of what brings it all together. And more or less, this is the gateway for people. So everybody, if you're interested and you're looking at how you can monetize on these different protocol functions, then I recommend you guys become contributors, learn more about the protocol, even if it's something that doesn't completely make sense to you, but you're curious and interested and wanting to know more, become a contributor and join the community and get involved. And let's discover more about it together.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Yeah, like if it's all in the white paper, but I know people don't like to read, so we're gonna try and do more videos to break down some of these things and provide more context. If there was something in this video that you thought we did well, please let us know so that we can maintain that behavior. If there's something we did not do well, please let us know so we